So at the end of the day, when I water this, in order to get a good feed ratio, I want my worms to be happy and I want them to eat quickly. Their food source, because look, their mouth is not very strong. I mean, they can eat anything, but it's like little pieces. So if I put in my dry manure, I need to wet it a lot to get it moist enough so it's easy for them to eat. And when I'm doing that, like we did with our compost, what happens? You saw the water and it leached out.
Yeah.
And very quickly that water was really brown, correct? Super brown. So what was leaching out? Well, the manure, and when we watered the manure, some of it bypassed and pulled some of that, and that's going to be water mixed with nutrients, which we call in compost leachate, and you can have worm farm leachate, okay? So in that instance, that leachate is not necessarily something I want to put directly onto my food. For instance, you could have possibly salmonella or something like that in a cow manure. It's possible. It's not likely, but could be possible. So we don't want to have a pathogen transfer. So I wouldn't want to take direct leachate and pour it on my plants. And then maybe someone here, came in and said, wow, that's microgreens, and ate it, but didn't wash it. And if that happened, there could be that possibility of a pathogen transfer. Now imagine though I was in a nursery here and none of this is microgreens. Nobody's going to come do that. I could put leachate on here and it will grow just fine. But there is the possibility of the pathogen transfer. Okay, but what is worm leachate? Well, some people in the industry say worm tea, worm pea. So worm pea. Well, what is worm pea? Worm pea is leachate. Okay, and the reason that people don't promote leachate so much is the possibility of pathogen transfer. Okay, this is the same thing with a composting toilet. If I have compost from a composting toilet and I compost it 100% complete, there should be no pathogen transfer. But how do I know it's 100% complete? And there's a possibility of pathogen transfer from human to human. So if I put raw or unprocessed human feces onto my vegetables and then eat it raw, I could get sick. That's not super likely that people do that, but if you did, you would get sick, right? So what they say is, oh, well, I need to process and I can't prove that I processed 100% that compost in my compost toilet. So what I'll do is I'll put it onto a plant that doesn't get eaten that way by people. So like the base of my fruit tree, because I eat the fruit from, or I peel the fruit. I don't eat, so I eat the inside. So there's less likelihood that I could get pathogen transfer. Same with leachate. So at this point, when I'm watering, this is going to have some amount drained down through the castings, which are going to leach out nutrients from castings also. Okay, and then come out, there's a drain here. Come into the drain all the way, and these are all daisy chained together into this. We just use a blue barrel, which is a 200 liter blue barrel, but we only fill it up about halfway because that's how we did it. Okay, so this barrel holds 100 liters, okay, currently, of worm tea and or leachate. So they sell this again in CQ, and they sell it in other markets around the world. So worm tea, whatever, leachate. In CQ, they sell a 250 ml bottle. So what they like to do is take a used water bottle. So the lady goes to the recycling shop, she gets the used water bottles, and she has her own label, and she relabels them. She fills it with worm tea and just puts the cap back on, and then sells it at the organic market to people typically in the city, because they take that, they put it onto their potted plants in their house, they get a great response, it looks nice. She sells that currently for 60 baht for 250 mils, or $2 US for 250 mils, or in CQ, Thailand, what is that? 2 times 4, about $8 per liter. And then here we have approximately 100 liters, so $800 US is inside there in Thailand, or X value in another country. So here we go. I look down in here, so what's really in here is leachate, which is full of like enzymes and stuff. So you see this?
It doesn't smell anything.
No. No smell. Not bad. But it's full of minerals, nutrients. Okay? Plants love it. As I said, you can. Some people on the internet say don't do this, but why are they saying don't do it? And they'll say, oh, it's so concentrated, it'll kill the plant. No, there's no chance. Look at that. It's not going to kill it. We can come back and look at it. But don't come and eat that. You might get a pathogen transfer. This is what it's about. It's about the safety factor of using this. Is it safe? If it's your own personal use, you make your own decisions, okay? I know that no one is going to come and try to eat a baby. This is pumpkin, so I doubt it, and at which time I didn't pour it on the leaves. Yeah? But if I was trying to evenly disperse it, it may get on the leaves, then there's a pathogen. This is really good stuff. Call it liquid gold, okay? So we got black gold, we got liquid gold. So this is really great product. And actually what happens is this fills up every day. And I have a fish tank pump in the bottom of here. So when my fish tank pump is sitting there, and I have a float here, it's a simple float valve. So when this is hanging all the way down, this has a weight. It's a floated and weighted. So when it's all the way down, the switch is off. So all the way down, no pumping. The water comes in, it fills up, it fills up. When it fills up to this level, this starts floating, but that's not enough weight to release the switch. There's a spring. So it's like a switch on here, but with a spring. And then once it gets up to this point, this one floats. And once that happens, it says start pumping. And it pumps, pump, 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 pump down to, but this is not enough weight to take the switch. Pump, 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 pump. Oh, stop. So there's always a minimum amount, and it pumps this amount. So when you set this, you're setting the amount that the pump is going to run. Maximum and minimum level. And then it pumps. So what happens with here is I pump this to an ICB, which we'll see on the other side later, an international bulk carrier. That is then has water come from our permaponic system. Then the leachate mixes or dilutes into that. So I'm diluting this, okay, automatically. And then my sprinklers come on, and I sprinkle the nursery and the garden. So I'm using my leachate. I'm using a fish tank pump to transfer it to a container, a larger container, 1,000 liters. Each day that happens, the pump comes on with a timer, says, take that water, put it onto the garden for X period of time. So in that instance, watering my seedlings, the water drips down. Excess water from watering my seedlings feeds my worm farm. Excess leachate goes to the container and is pumped to the dilution bin, which is then pumped to the garden. And I then have a nutrient source for our garden. Okay, a diluted tea. So that's a value. So I have a value that I could buy every day, and I may do 50 liters a day of water through here. So I'm getting 50 liters in a Thai value of $8 or 400 US dollars in Thailand of leachate per day. That's then pumped onto my garden. Now guys, I'm gonna tell you about secrets. People come here and they say, hey, how is it like that? It looks like, I have a big worm farm, okay? So I'm putting in massive amounts of castings. I'm putting in massive amounts of leachate. And this is just one, we have 2 of these farms. So on an almost daily basis, we can almost push in a marketed value, like 800 US dollars in just leachate into the garden per day, 365 days a year. Besides the value of the castings, which I get about 40 per month, 40 kilos of castings a month. And if I wanted to, I could increase that by 4, no issues. And I could build more farm. But it all comes down to water is obviously easy to get, right? Think about because we're going to say permaculture is business, and all of the things that we're going to show you can be a business. So I choose not to sell my leachate, and I choose not to sell my castings because I sell my gardening. I sell my end product, and it's higher value than this. So I take a low value 5 baht and I turn it into this, and then I push it into this, and then I have a high value food that we eat, right? So you pick which place on the market you want to sell. So remember the cycling. I choose to sell the end product, the vegetable, versus sell the castings. But you could sell the castings if you want. Maybe you don't have enough space to support your family, right? To have a big garden to make enough money. But you'd have enough space to make a worm farm. You could make a worm farm in your garage, on the side of your garage, right? Guys, still park your car, have worms, build a shelf, still put your garbage and junk that we keep, right? Extra stuff we don't need. And so it's out of space. It doesn't have any smell. It's a great product. The market likes it. And I'll tell you why they like it. It works. They buy something, you use it, it works. So they're willing to pay for it again because it's a visible result. So that's what we want to do. We're going to come in, clean these out, right? So now, if we have the drain, I want to show you, we'll come back over here. I want to pull the drain up and show you how I build our drains and how they work, okay? Because one of the issues with your worm farm, if you want to have this leachate collection system, is making sure that your drains don't get stopped up, because sometimes they do. But it took us a while to work out the system that we use, and it's not that complicated. And you know, the way that we work in permaculture and life is that we improve on other people's things. So in no way do I think that my system is the best, or my system is the only way, or my system is better than someone else's system, okay guys? This just works for us. You take the idea, the concept. If I provide the correct habitat for my organism, in this case worms, I understand its needs, its functions, its desires, and I care for it, it will work. So here we go, less automated. So we're gonna go ahead, we get these out, but I'm gonna pull this up. So this is just a half, big spider living in there. Okay. Oh, nice worm. Okay. So he's down there, he likes the moisture level. So what we can see is down at this level it's quite moist. And we can, if we look inside, there's lots of worms that are hanging out here. Yep. Wow. Yeah, so not bad. And that over that area, right? And down inside here, we had slits, so it allows the water to come down and drain in, right? And then inside this, there's a little bit of leachate, okay? The worms, some worms like to get down in there. They, especially I've noticed that they like to get in there and breed to some extent. I don't know exactly why, but okay. And there, because that's manure in standing water, that's starting to go anaerobic and starts to smell like shit. That's manure. Because it's, but what happens is the bottom of this bin, right? It can't, it's because I put in the drain slightly above. So this holds on the bottom about 1 inch of water. That bottom layer is anaerobic and it acts as a wick, a wicking layer. So that water is there and the soil undergoes, because this is soil as natural as normal soils. It goes under what's called a capillary action. So capillary action is basically a static electricity, if you will, that allows water to raise contrary to what we'd say is gravity. And how would we get an example of that? Well, let's say I took your t-shirt and I put a pan here with a little bit of water and I hung your t-shirt and it just barely touched the water. What happens? The water goes up the shirt. That's capillary action to a certain level and then it stops. So the capillary action, right, static charge, to gravity is the wick. This is the same thing that we're going to build to run our permaponic systems, to automatically water our garden from the bottom up, not from the top down. But in this system, guess what I'm doing? I'm doing both, top down and bottom up, and I can maintain at this, because a worm likes that 75%, and remember his body is elongated? So he wants to hang out, and he likes that. So I'm gonna create an exact point that he can go into, right, and always have moisture. Thus, they're hanging out. And then this excess water that has gone through an anaerobic fermentation, okay, process is then when this water comes down, it pushes that water up and out the pipe, drains it to my container pushes it to my dilution system, which then pushes it to my garden, and I don't really have to do anything. Every so often, and the reason I have this as a big thing, I can see inside. Sometimes it gets stopped up or something like that. You never know, right? So that's not draining properly. So I'll have to come in and I'll take the hose and I'll blow it out. This is a irrigation pipe that we use throughout our gardens. You push it on, it seals, okay, with low pressure. But I can use it for drainage. So it's a T, a 90, cut a few things. This is a T, and we just drilled a hole, we grouted it in. If you don't have concrete buckets, it doesn't matter. Find a plastic bucket, guys. It doesn't matter exactly what it is. Just something that'll hold it. If the worms are happy, they don't crawl out or escape. If you do have an issue with them escaping, maybe it's not enough moisture, not enough food, or sometimes they don't, if it's too much light, yeah, they'll escape. So and so what some farmers do, they put a light on at night so the worms won't escape in some instances. That's probably more indication that something's wrong with their habitat, right, than anything else. This is the basics. This is how we can do it. We find this, it works for me. It's an 80% thing. If I wanted to expand this to be a professional business, I'm sure I would do it slightly different. There's no problems. But we have to find that balance personally about what's right for us with the materials that we have. So this is all inexpensive things that we use on hand and easy to do. I didn't need expensive tools, and there you go. And it works, and we get a good product, and that's the major thing for me. What product am I getting? How much work went into it? And now what can I do with that product? If I'm a more ethical leachate distributor, then I'm going to make sure that I'm just watering this enough only to get high quality leachate. But if I'm not I could overwater slightly and dilute your leachate slightly if I was selling it to you. For me personally, since I'm not trying to sell the leachate directly, I overwater because it increases the production of my beds. Do you understand? So what farm are you into? Are you into selling leachate? Are you into selling castings? Are you into selling worms? Right? And so we'll see later that this setup for me is more so I collect leachate and I like the leachate. I believe it's really that ace in the hole that, everybody that's good at something, you always find out later that they have that kind of like a secret thing. So guys accuse me of harboring worm secrets. I'm going to tell you there's no secret to worms eating shit. The secret is what you do with their products. So the secret is how well the garden grows because of how much leachate and how many castings go into that garden in comparison to what other people put in their garden. And the secret is build your system. Remember, it took me 2 years to grow it up. So time is our friend and it goes exponentially, right? And then in the future, 3 to 4 years of working with your permaculture, you'll have no problem. And people will walk into your garden and go, what's the secret? Worms, manure, resource, systems, product. That's it. That's the secret of permaculture. There's no secret about worms. So at this point, that leachate would go there. Maybe if I put there about 2 liters of water, 3 liters of water, 2 liters will kind of sit there. 1 liter would go out. So for 3 liters of water, which may cost me almost nothing, a baht, 1 baht. Okay. I get a liter of leachate, which I can sell for, that's retail. I can sell it wholesale for 30. So I take 1 baht and turn it into 30 baht. How many of those bottles can you market? And that brings us to that question in the class all the time. Great, what do you want to sell? Where are you going to sell it? How are you going to market it? Are you going to be retail? Are you going to be wholesale? Or are you going to use it personally to upvalue it like we do? I want to put it in my garden and then I'll sell my vegetables. I'll sell my fruits, right? Where do I sell them? Again, do I use them personally? Lots, yeah, because we like to eat them. Some are surplus. What do I do with the surplus? Some go to friends and family. The rest can go to the market. So my mother-in-law then sells them by the kilo in the market. So she supports, and you can say like in Thailand, when I marry my wife, I have to take on an obligation to support their family. This is how it is in Asia. But I don't want to sit there and give them money. As a Westerner, I don't like that, okay? It's my culture, I just don't like that. But I have no issue that my efforts here supports the agriculture that they do, and they have a better product, so it's like I'm working to help them. It's not I'm giving them cash. And if they sell the produce, they receive cash. They don't have to feel like they have their hand out, and I don't have to feel like I'm giving it to them. So I'm helping the family, and they get an income. This is community, not one it's not a handout thing. So we help each other. So my efforts here help their efforts there. Their efforts there are really nice because when Lynn's mom grows some really good food. Okay, so at which time I get to eat it. So there's payment. I didn't have to pay. I get good food.